Hey everyone, Zach here, and welcome to Lesson 70 of this RTS tutorial series. In this video, we'll be setting up our hunger metrics, and we'll be adding status bars to our UI so we can see what our unit's hunger and fatigue levels are. That said, open up your project, and let's get started.
Welcome back to the editor. And in today's video, we're going to set up our UI information for our units on their fatigue and hunger. We're also going to set up our hunger checks as well. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't set a cap on if it gets over 100% hunger. Well, I actually have, and that was the clamp in the last video. So we go into the AI, and we go into our controller, which we'll need to do either way. And we go into our fatigue. This clamps the value at 1 no matter what. So we don't need to have an if statement here. If our fatigue is already at 1 and we're adding something to it, it's going to go 1 at the end of this. So that is why we don't have that if statement. Also, I am using 0 to 1 as 0 to 100%. If you use round numbers, such as 0 to 100, you would just change the clamp here, or you'd put the if statement at the end. Either approach is acceptable. Some people have a bit of a problem thinking in this 0 to 1 range, even though it's the same 100 digits between, or 101 digits technically between the two, as 0 to 100 is. It might be easier for you to work that way. All right, all of that said, we're going to very quickly knock out the first step of today's lesson, which is setting up our increase and decrease hunger. These will be very much the same functions we just kind of did. But we're going to pop open into here and just copy the names so we get the correct function names in there. So our increase hunger, we're going to grab our unit reference. From our unit reference, we are going to find our hunger. We are going to set it, and we're going to plug that into there. I'm just going to move that down a fair amount. And I'm not going to do much explaining this video because we literally just did it in the last video. So hopefully the repetition kind of reinforces what we're doing. So we're setting our hunger, which means we have to get our current hunger. And then we are going to add to it the amount that we want to increase it by. We're going to plug that into there. I'm just going to move that along this way for now. What we're going to add into here is a float divided by a float. And what we're dividing is our value that we wanted to change over an hour. So in the last video, we had the amount of fatigue increased by 0.25 over an hour. Now we're going to have a value here that's going to increase by a certain amount. So fatigue was increasing 25% every hour, technically. We're going to increase hunger 15% every hour. So promote to variable. And this will be our hunger gain delta. Again, delta just meaning change in. All right, I want to set the default value to 0.15. Now, again, I'm picking numbers that I have tested slightly, but I've only tested them to make sure they work the way I want them to generally work, which is you get tired more quickly than you get hungry. That's the only part I wanted to work. In terms of gameplay, you would have to work out your own numbers for balancing and to achieve the gameplay effects that you want. And there's a small issue here. If I do this, my hunger can go over 100%. So I'm actually going to break that. And I'm going to move all of this down this way. And I'm going to clean up my mistake. I'm going to put my clamp back in. So we need to clamp this float. And we need to clamp it in the range of 0% to 100%. Sorry, I'm just lining that all up now. Plug that into there, and we'll do our return node. Now we're going to reverse this, and we are going to do our decrease hunger. So before I do that, though, I just want to make sure, since I might have spelled it wrong in the last video, that I get my decrease hunger name there. I'll duplicate this, paste that in, and in here, very quickly, I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to take our current hunger, and I'm going to take away from it a set amount. Now, I'm going to create a new variable down there in a second. Sorry, I want all that to line up nicely. There we go. I am going to get rid of this hunger gain delta, and I'm going to create a new variable called hunger loss delta, and I'm going to set this one to 0.1. So while when they rest, they recover more quickly, eating doesn't recover as quickly. I don't know why I decided to do it that way. I just thought it'd be cool. This again is purely just to test out, does this work though? So again, fine-tuning the numbers is down to balancing gameplay towards the end. All right, I forgot to categorize these variables. So this is our fatigue, and we need a new one for this one. This will be our hunger. Oh, I put that in housing by mistake. Whoops. Fatigue. And our hunger. We'll do the same for these. Put them into that category of hunger, not housing. All right. There we go. So we have our functions for our hunger and fatigue set up. Now what we're going to do is we are going to get this information on screen so that the person controlling the game knows what their units are going through, or not what they're going through, but what their statuses are. Now, let's open up our unit info HUD. We could have our health and armor in here as well if you want. We have it outside the HUD. Up to you if you want it in here. I keep saying HUD. It's actually a user interface. So what we're going to do is we are going to add in, just collapse a lot of these down so we can see better. We're going to add into the details box 2 new vertical boxes instead of horizontal. Yes, vertical. So there's that new vertical box. After it, we're going to have a primitive, a spacer. And let's quickly set this padding on this spacer to 5. And the next vertical box right after there. Ooh, actually, I need to move that spacer up because I, unfortunately, skipped a spacer earlier. So we're going to add 2 spacers in. I should have had a spacer after the billeting box. And we're going to set this one to 5 as well. Sorry, I did not notice that in an earlier video that I skipped that step. This top box will be our fatigue box. And in our fatigue box, we are going to have a text and a progress bar. The text will be our fatigue text, which will read, I can type, there we go, fatigue level. We'll set that to the same size as the other fonts, which is 20. And our progress bar, let's just give it a little bit of fill so we can see it's there. Let's do our next one, which will be our hunger box. We'll add a text box just like before, our hunger text. This will say hunger level, if I can spell correctly. Earlier it wasn't letting me type, now I can't spell. We'll set that to size 20 as well. And let's grab a progress bar for that one. And this will be our, oh, I forgot to name the last one. So the first one will be our fatigue prog bar. This will be our hunger prog bar. And let's change the color. I'm just going to copy that, paste that there, and change the blue to that so we have a nice sort of greenish color. I'm not entirely sure it's nice. All right, so that takes care of the visual side of it. Now we need to populate the information for these progress bars. So grab the hunger progress bar. We are going to click bind next to %, create binding. This will be set, I said hunger, this is fatigue. Set fatigue prog bar. And this is really, really easy. Because I've chosen the values 0 to 1, I don't have to do anything really. I just grab my reference, I grab off of it, and I search for my fatigue. And, as said simply, plug that into there. Now, if you've used 0 to 100 instead, you will have to either divide it by a fatigue max and plug that result into here, or use a map range clamped. where the lower range will be 0. The upper range is whatever your max is. So if you use 0 to 100, this will be 100. And the out range is 0 for A, and the out range for B is 1. So A is min, so in range min, out range min. So it will take whatever value you put in here and normalize it to a 0 to 1.0 range. That is only if you have used something that doesn't go 0 to 100, 0 to 1 already. So if you use 0 to 100, you'll want that. Or like with our unit health and armor, you'll want to do division between the min or between the current and max. All right, it's that simple. We're going to repeat this one more time. And, oops, wrong bind. Create binding. This will be our set hunger prog bar. And just like before, because we're using that 0 to 100 range, 0 to 1 range, wow. I was going on a spiel about what if you do if you 0 to 100. I'm now saying 0 to 100. And get our hunger. Now, because I messed this up in my test file and I accidentally put fatigue in both of them, I'm going to make sure I didn't put hunger in both of these, because I said hunger earlier by mistake. Nope, I put fatigue in. Awesome. So, that takes us through everything, really. Let's test this out, make sure it works. Let's grab one of our units. Be helpful if I clicked on the screen correctly. All right. You can actually see a little bit of the fatigue there. It's very small. It's a little bit bigger now. You can't see much hunger because we're gaining it at a lower rate. We're going to speed this up. And there's the hunger that has popped on. So as you can see, it gains fatigue much faster than it gains hunger. It's found its billeting. We have its age, its birth date. I had a moment there where I can't remember if I've used UK or US dating for the age here. I really hope I've used non-US, because why go month day? Day month makes more sense. Smallest, medium, large instead of medium, small, large. Anyway, I'll get off that rant. But as you can see, it's gaining. Actually, I'm a little bit concerned about that. It's gaining fatigue way too quickly compared to hunger. So let's make sure I haven't messed something up. And I'm going to cheat a tiny bit. And I'm just going to pause it here. And I'm going to pick my HUD info there. That's at 0.05 for our hunger. Oops. And what's our fatigue? Our fatigue is 0.3. Let's go into here. 0.1 for our loss. 0.15. Let's make sure this is actually running. Hit play. Okay. Right. I'm just going to go to my timers real quick, make sure my timers are set up right. Oh. So, if you followed me exactly in the last video, I made a big mistake. Looping. I wonder why the values were so small. Let's try it again. Oh, we don't need that on anymore. Thank you. Forgot to remove that breakpoint. All right, let's speed the game up. There's the hunger. It is increasing this time. It is increasing slower than our fatigue level is. So that takes us through what we need to do for this video. In the next video, what we are going to do is we are going to set up this status check, which will then go into, do we need sleep or food? If we need both, it's going to prioritize sleep over food. Now, there are things you can do where it might switch between the two, but it will do sleep first, and we're going to set it up to focus on sleep, then food. And I still haven't decided how I want to tackle this branch. It will be here, because we have our fatigue, sorry, not our fatigue, we have our fear levels, our overall happiness levels, those sort of meta statistics on the overall happiness. And I'm just not entirely sure what approach I want to use. There are multiple ways to do this. Just like there are multiple ways to tackle how you want to get food and sleep. If you want this as one branch or two, if you want to prioritize food over sleep, The other one that I want here, I haven't decided if I want to do a prioritization of overall happiness or fear, or a combination of the two, what would be more realistic. But that is something I will decide probably in the next couple of videos. All right, I realize this is a relatively short video, but the idea behind it was to reinforce the logic in how those timers are set up. All of that said, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button down below and to hit the subscribe and notify icon so you know when the next tutorial is out. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. Also, remember, there's a Discord community if you want access to other people working on any of the tutorial series I currently have up, or if you have any questions you want to ask me directly on that channel. All of that said, I hope you guys are here for the next tutorial, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.